Well, Arlo Guthrie is finally, after all these years, decided I'm closing down my Facebook page. I'm not going to be responding or anything anymore, but you can get all my stuff on other ones anyway. Yeah. So here's Arlo Guthrie, son of Woody Guthrie, who was the icon for Bob Dylan. Anyway, he wrote this song. This song is called Alice's Restaurant. But Alice isn't the name of the restaurant, it's just the name of the song, so that's why we call it Alice's Restaurant. Well, it all started about 2 years ago in the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Well, anyway, I'll sing the song for you first. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant, excepting Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now, me and my friend Ray, we went to visit Alice in the restaurant one day, but she doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant with that Fudgy the dog and her husband Ray. And living in the bell tower, they like that. They got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be, so they didn't have to take out their garbage very often. We thought it'd be a friendly gesture if we took their garbage down to the city dump. So we put it in the back of a red VW microbus with shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed off towards the city dump. And when we got there, there was a sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgivings. We had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, but with tears in our eyes we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage, but we couldn't find one until we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was a 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was this half a ton of garbage. We thought one big pile is better than two little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down, which is what we did. Went back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning. When we got a phone call from Officer Opie, he said he'd found my name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage, and he just wanted to know if I had anything to tell him about it. I said, "Yes sir, Officer Opie, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." He talked for me about 45 minutes on the telephone. He finally came to the truth of the matter, and he said we'd have to go down and see him at the police officer station, pick up the garbage in the snow. But we went down to the police officer station. There was only 2 or 3 possibilities. They could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, or they could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't think that would happen. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility we hadn't even considered. We was both immediately arrested and handcuffed. I said, "Opie, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid, get in the back of the patrol car." We got in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime. This was happening in the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where they got 4 police officers and 2 police cars. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. They was taking dog smelling prints and tire tracks, and they took 27 8x10 colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used in evidence against us. They took pictures of the northwest corner, the southwest corner, the approach, the getaway, not to mention the aerial photography. We went back to the police officer station. Opie said, "I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt." I said, "Opie, I can understand you wanting my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for?" He said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Opie, do you think I'm going to hang myself for littering?" He said, "Shut up, kid." He was just making sure, and he was making sure because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. He took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper down the wall, slide down the roll, and make an escape. Then it's about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice came by. You remember Alice? The song about Alice. Anyway, with a few nasty words to Opie on the side, she bailed us out. We went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and didn't get up until the next morning. Well, we then had to go to court again. We walked in, Opie came in with the 27/8 colored graphs with circles and arrows and the paragraph in the back of each one explained what each one was to give us evidence against us, and sat down. We sat down. Judge came in, man came in and said, all rise. We all stood up. Opie stood up with the 27/8 by 10 colored glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and the paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to give us evidence against us. And the judge came in with the CNI dog. Opie looked at the judge, and then he looked at the CNI dog, and then he looked at the 27/8 by 10 colored glossy photographs with the circles and arrows, and then he looked at the judge again, and then he looked at the CNI dog, and then he began to cry, because Opie came to the realization it was a typical case of American blind justice. And the judge just wasn't going to look at the 27/8 by 10 colored glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and express on the back of each one explaining what each wants to use in evidence against us. And we were fined $50. But that's not what I came to tell you about. No, you see, they got this building down in New York City. It's still there. Next war, you know, where you go down to get your physical examination before you were selected into the armed forces. I went down to get my physical examination. I mean, I got good and drunk the night before. I wanted to look my best. I wanted to be the all-American boy from New York City, and I walked in, I was hung down, brung down, they was injecting, infecting, inspecting, selecting every single part of me, and there wasn't even no part untouched. Finally came to the last day. He said, kid, I want you to go see the psychiatrist's room. No, he said, kid, I only got one. What did he say? Oh yeah, I want you to say the psychiatrist, room 604. So I walked in, I said, shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Heap dead, burnt bodies, kill, kill. I started jumping up and down, yelling, kill, kill. He started jumping up and down with me. We were both yelling, kill, kill, kill. Till the sergeant came in, pinned the medal on me, sent me on down the hall and said, you're our boy. I didn't feel too good about that. I proceeded on down to get more injections, infections, inspections. I was there for a long time. I finally came to the last guy. I said, what you want? He said, kid, I only got one question. Have you ever been arrested? And I told him the story of the Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration of 5-part harmony. And he stopped me right there and he said, kid, did you ever go to court? So I told him all about the 27/8 by 10 colored glossy photographs with circles and arrows and the paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to use in evidence against us. He said, kid, I want you to go sit over there on that bench marked Group W. Now, kid. I went over to the Group W bench, which is where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. There was all kinds of mean, nasty-looking people on the bench, and there next to me, mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers, and the meanest father raper of them all, he was mean and ugly and nasty and horrible. He came over and he said, what'd you get? I said, I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage in the snow. He said, kid, what was you arrested for? And I said, littering. And they all moved away from me on the bench, gave me the hairy eyeball and all kinds of nasty looking looks, until I said, and creating a nuisance. And then they all came back, shook my hand, we had a great time talking about crime, mother raping, father stabbing, father raping, just having a great time there on the Group W bench. Then the sergeant came in, held up a piece of paper and said, kids, this paper's got 47 words, 27 days, we want no details of the crime, arrest and officer's name, everything you got to say pertaining to the crime and everything like that. And he talked like that for about 45 minutes. Nobody understood a word that he said. But we filled out the forms, I filled out the massacre, full part, 4-part harmony, quickly notated. Then I turned over the piece of paper, and there in the middle of the piece of paper, away from everything else on the other side of the piece of paper, in parentheses, quotated and capital letters, was written the following words. Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself? I went over to the sergeant. I said, Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall. Asked me if I've rehabilitated myself. That's it. You want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, and villages after being a litter bug? He said, kid, we don't like your kind. We're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington. And friends, somewhere in Washington is a study in black and white of my fingers. And the only reason I'm telling you this story is you may know someone in a similar situation someday, or you may be in a similar situation. And if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do. Walk into the shrink, sing a bar of Alice's restaurant, and walk out. If just one person does it, they'll think he's crazy and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, they'll think you're both famous and they won't take either of you. And if 50, can you imagine 50 people a day walking in, singing a bar of Alice's restaurant and walking out? They'll think it's a movement. And that's what it is, friends, the Alice's Restaurant anti-massacre movement. And all you gotta do to join is sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar. Oh yeah, here it comes. Okay, here it comes now. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant, excepting Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Da 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 da. At Alice's Restaurant. No cover charge anytime. Happy New Year.
How do you remember?
They are 11 minutes 49 seconds. There you are. Happy New Year.